Today on Good News, we're inviting you to glide into the inspiring journey of Capital City Kayak, a movement that's opening new waters of connection, representation, and joy. Picture this: Chris Lockhart, a visionary leader guiding communities back to the rivers and lakes of the South, reclaiming space in the outdoors where our presence has too often been overlooked. Capital City Kayak isn't just about paddling. It's about creating a sense of belonging, breaking down barriers, and celebrating heritage while being surrounded by the beauty of nature. Their mission is simple yet transformative: to reconnect us to the outdoors, foster environmental stewardship, and nurture a renewed appreciation for the landscapes that have always been a part of our story. Imagine laughter echoing across the water, friendships forming with every paddle, and young people seeing themselves reflected in a space once thought out of reach. This isn't just about recreation. It's empowerment, healing, and hope, a chance to build community while embracing the freedom of the open water. So, come along with us and discover how Capital City Kayak is not only changing the way we experience nature, but also creating a brighter, more inclusive future for generations to come.
The Pearl River is both a lifeline and a landmark. It shaped the land, the people, and the culture of Mississippi. Capital City Kayak began with a simple mission: to provide access, but it grew into something much greater, a community gathering spot where culture and nature intersect. On the water, you find beauty in every direction. Trees stretching to the sky, fields rolling into the horizon, and the calm steadiness of the Pearl River. There's so much beauty along this river, and Chris wants to give people a chance to experience it.
Chris, we are in what we could probably call your second home, and that is the outdoors and the nature. Tell us a little bit about yourself and how nature has played a part in you growing up and being an adult.
So growing up, I was one of those kids that was always playing outside, from sun up to sundown. That's where you could find me, just outside somewhere. Whether if it was playing in a creek, running up and down the street, riding a bike, or just looking for somewhere to go and something to do. That was me. So I was that kid that was always bringing bugs in the house and having odd little pets and bringing stuff in that I shouldn't have. So that's pretty much carried into my adulthood, just being outside and being able to share my love of outdoors with people who I don't know and people who I do know.
And so your love for the outdoors got you to start a business, Capital City Kayak, a kayaking business. And so what inspired you to do that?
So it was one of those that when I was in college, I did a lot of fishing and kayaking up in Starkville. And so when I moved back to Jackson, I kept on doing it. And, early in the social media days, you ask a question, people ask, where you at, what you doing? I tell them I'm right down the street, and they couldn't believe it. So they didn't realize that you could kayak here in Jackson. And I was just going to all these little spots. And my friends would want to join, and they didn't have a boat. So I said, you know what, I just buy one extra boat. There's one person that always wants to come with me. And so one boat turned into two boats turned into a pickup truck turned into a trailer. And I sat down and just came up with a plan, and it grew from there. So now I got about 3 school buses and 100 boats. And so I get to do this majority of the year.
How has it been to be able to let people enjoy the same thing that you love, which is the outdoors and nature? How does that make you feel?
So knowing that most people wouldn't have the opportunity to do something like this unless they're on vacation or out somewhere tropical, you can do it just right here in your own backyard. So just being able to show people a part of the city that they normally wouldn't be able to experience or have the opportunity to do, it's very rewarding.
That's good. And as a Black man, you are in a space that you probably don't see a lot of people who look like you enjoying the same thing. And so, what does it make you appreciate or make you want to say about being a Black man who enjoys the outdoors?
So normally when you look up So if you go to Google right now and you type in kayaking, you know, you won't see faces that look like me. Knowing that I can provide people a safe space to come out, enjoy nature, knowing that, because, you know, a lot of people say kayaking, that's not for us, we don't do that. But a lot of people come out and they're surprised by, you know, oh, it's 20 or 30 other black people out here with me. I wouldn't expect them to see this many smiling brown faces out here. So knowing that I could put brown faces in spaces that normally aren't catered towards us or advertised towards our demographic, it's very rewarding.
And with that, as you are creating this opportunity and access for people like us to come and enjoy the nature and kayaking, what is probably a misconception that the outsiders have that you would want them to know to encourage them to come out with us as well?
So one big issue that a lot of people have is, oh, I can't swim. So that means I can't go kayaking because I can't swim. Well, we make sure we follow all safety regulations, you know, by the state of Mississippi. We make sure everybody's provided with a life vest. I make sure everybody's knowledgeable about what they're doing and what they're getting into before they actually do it. So I don't just put them in a boat and just put them out there. No, we have a good conversation and like a little tutorial session before we go out. So to ensure they are paddling safely and, you know, abiding by just common sense rules that you should abide by when you're on the water.
So at Crystal Lake, there's a lot of history that even if you're coming and enjoying a activity like kayaking, there's still a lot of history that you can learn about, just about the landscape, the southern landscape of Mississippi. So could you tell me a little bit about what history is here?
So historically, this area was known as the Gold Coast. So this area that we're paddling on is currently an oxbow of the Pearl River. So in the mid to late 60s, when they built I-55, they constructed those levees and that permanently separated it from the river. And so this area used to be known as East Jackson because that's what it was, but now it's officially Rankin County. So while we're standing here on land, we're in Rankin County, but once we get in the water, we'll be technically back in Hinds County because the Pearl River is the dividing line between these two counties. And before this was East Jackson and what's currently known as Flowood, you know, Flowood now is just cookie cutter houses and shopping centers. But before it was that, it was a spot for recreation. When I say recreation, I mean the good stuff.
What type of recreation?
We talking juke joints, jazz clubs, and during the Prohibition era, you know, the black folks would say, hey, we going across the river this weekend. And so across the river meant, oh, we crossing the river to
That
go,
river.
yeah, this river right here, the Pearl River, to go get the hooch off the boats that were coming from up north. So during this area, there was a hot spot during Prohibition where all the bootleggers would come. And so of course with the bootleggers, you know, came the fun. And that's what this area used to be. So it has a rich blue southern history here in this area.
That's pretty cool. And what else was the river possibly used for in terms of, you know, hopping a skip over to go and enjoy the other recreation? But is anything else?
Prior to the construction of the reservoir about 14 miles north, it used to be a primary hub for transportation with big boats. But now it's taken a lot of turns geographically because it's been mechanically straightened in some areas, dammed up in some. So full transportation via the Pearl River is a lot more limited these days just because of advances in infrastructure.
Does it make you enjoy being out here more, knowing that you know the history and also you get to appreciate, you know, what your ancestors were doing and also being a part of the culture that you were in? How does that make you feel?
It feels great knowing that I can still bring people back to an area where historically was just known for a place for us to come relax on a weekend. Well, we can still do that now, just in kayaks. You know, minus the bootleg and hooch and juke joints, but it's still a good time out on the water regardless.
Yes, of course.
At Capital City Kayak, a paddle in the water is more than recreation.
Ready for spaghetti?
Yep. Yours is imaginary like mine.
You know, I tried. I got some that do match, but they're not as aesthetically pleasing. These way more comfortable.
Chris is proof nature belongs to everyone, and inclusion is not an idea.
All right, so when you're holding your paddle, you're gonna hold it like you're pushing the shopping cart. Overhand grip, elbows outside of your hips, nice and relaxed. And your blade, you wanna make sure the curved part is facing you where you can see and read your words. Because the goal is you're trying to pull the water behind you in order to move forward. So you're just focusing on one stroke at a time. quality strokes. Don't just come out here paddling just to say you paddling. Don't come out here with the T-Rex on. You're not gonna get anything done. So less is more. It's about the quality of your stroke, not the quantity. So controlled strokes. Everything is just focusing on one side. Reach, quality pull, relax. So what we're doing is 70% relaxing, 30% steering. So it's about where you go, not how fast you go. Let me show you how to get in. So put one foot in and then start easing down. Perfect. All right. There it is. Slightly towards you, so you can see and read your words. Overhand grip, elbows in, nice and relaxed. So low hands, no elbows. And everything is just a quality pull. And you're only submerging just the blade. So when you put your blade in the water and you got water coming out of your shaft, you're going way too deep.
All right.
Perfect. Slow, controlled strokes. All right, are we ready?
His vision is to help the new generation see themselves not as outsiders in the outdoors, but as leaders within it. And in every kayak that touches the water, a ripple of change begins.
So when you're steering, everything is opposite. So if you paddle on the right side, the boat will move to the left. So Mariah, I want you to give me 3 quality strokes on your right side. 1, 2, and give me one more good one. 3. You notice how you paddled on the right side, but the boat went to the left? There we go. Because like I said, 70% relaxing, 30% steering. You look like a professional right now. Good job.
All right, so we're finally out on the water.
We did it.
It's a little hot, but there's more to the experience than just the heat.
Yes.
I can tell. The scenic views is the most important part.
So now that we're out here surrounded by water, not on land, you get a good duck's eye view. I told you it's one thing to be on land looking at the water, but to be on water looking out at the land is a completely different experience. And although it may seem like we're paddling in sweet tea right now, you know, clear water in Mississippi usually will never get used in the same sentence, but this water is actually really
Why is
clear.
that?
It's just in a brown container. So when you think about like water quality in Mississippi, we got a lot of trees, and so when a lot of these trees drop their leaves and those leaves fall into the water, you know, think about when you put tea leaves in a clear glass of
Because I
water.
know some people could think of it as like a negligence or a human error.
Not at all. It's just from natural tannins, because water comes in many different hues and colors. Not all water is just naturally clear. But out here, this water has low turbidity, meaning it doesn't have a lot of sediment floating in it. So if we were to scoop up a nice glass of it, it would come out relatively clear. It's just in a brown container.
Did you go kayaking when you were younger, or when did it start?
So my first time, I was in South Mississippi at camp. So that was my first kayaking experience. And so I fell in love with the den. And when I went to Mississippi State, after I graduated from Hines Community College, you know, they had this big area called the Noxubee Wildlife Refuge. So I do a whole lot of fishing and kayaking out in that area. And so once I moved back to Jackson, I had me a boat, and I would put in a lot of different areas just here in the metro area, whether if it was at the reservoir, LaFleur's Bluff State Park, or just over here at Crystal Lake. And you know, early in the social media era, you post a picture, people ask, where you at, what you doing? Or you out of town somewhere? And I tell them, no, I'm just right down the street. And it's like, oh man, I wanna come. So the issues that a lot of people run into is they didn't have a boat. So I was like, you know what, I'll just provide one extra boat, because my homeboys always wanted to come out with me. And so I put them on, and they come out and paddle with me and fish with me, and it grew from there. And
What started as letting other people come and experience something you enjoy was a business.
yeah,
you know?
so I was able to just turn something that I still do love and enjoy as a hobby. You know, it's a lifestyle. You know, I do it every day, all day, and I do it majority of the year. And being able to provide other people the opportunity to come out and do it with me is great. You know, feels like it was something I was chosen to do.
Yeah.
So with this being your first time kayaking
Yes.
in Mississippi, right?
Yes.
So
Wow, yes, Mississippi.
this
Yeah.
is your first Mississippi paddle experience. So what would be the biggest concern you might have paddling in these scary, unknown, dark Mississippi waters? Your
Not
number
even
one
a concern, more of just, you know, as you are enjoying activities, no matter where you are, it's important to, you know, be mindful of the small things. Where am I located? Where, you know, how far does this water stretch out? Am I getting good cell service if I need to make a call? And you know, I never do the, you know, go by myself and try something new. I'm always with people, so that also helps. But just, I like to think of safety things before I go. So not really, I already knew that I was going to be looking at a pretty landscape, but just being mindful of what I need to bring, who I need to be with, and any safety things that I need to have with me in case something happens.
Absolutely. So typically I have a lot of people that say, I want to come kayaking, but no one to do it with me. Well, we do guided tours, so there won't be a scenario where you're just out in the middle of an unknown body of water alone. So like on the weekends, I'll have people say, I just couldn't get anybody to come, so I came solo. And they'll come and they're surprised that, oh man, there are 30 other people out here with me in this session. They say, I had a really good time just being with other people doing something new. And so a lot of people say, oh no, that water's so deep, I can't swim in it. Well, you know, I always tell people, you know, if you're gonna exit the boat or if you're wondering about the depth, you know, I can take my paddle right now and tap the bottom. So like at this current point in time, we're only in about 2 or 3 feet worth of water.
Let me
So
try
give it the test
myself.
tap.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, as you can see, we're out here standing in waist deep water. So I told you, on average out here, the water level is 3 to 5 feet, mostly throughout, and the deepest point being about 7 or 8 feet. And so that's during the low water levels when we don't get a whole lot of rain. So, and that's one thing I tell people all the time, like, we only paddle when conditions are favorable. So during high wind, potential rain events, lightning, like, nah, we won't be out here. I won't put people in those scenarios. So, but I always tell people, you're preparing for an adventure, bring bottled water, sunscreen, sunglasses, a towel to keep sweat off of you. Bug spray is recommended. A small bag to hold all your things while you're paddling. I tell people, if it can fit in the book bag, bring it with you. I have people that bring a small speaker. People bring books. I have my regulars that just come out, go to an island, sit for a few hours, just watch the sun move through the sky, count the clouds, just all the above, just being outside.
As I felt that wind blow, I was like, I could sit out here. If this wind was blowing consistently like that, yeah. You ready to paddle back
let's do it.
To shore?
All right.
There is a beautiful landscape to the south. And so being from the south, specifically Mississippi, what makes this place so unique and different from anywhere else?
So this is a natural body of water just located right here in central Mississippi. So it flows parallel to the Pearl River. Beautiful natural landscape with lots of native plants, native animals, native wildlife, all of the above. And so it's something that you could possibly go somewhere else and see it, but for it to be so accessible to us is a treat here in the metro area, with it being such an industrialized metropolis area.
That's good. What's next for your business from a business standpoint, and also more like that cultural accessibility standpoint of what you want to do moving forward?
So as business grows, I've been in operation since 2014. So in that span of time, I've been able to increase my inventory with employees, more people to work with me, more buses, just more of everything. So there's been a great growth over this time. And so I love to attribute my longevity to just staying consistent and people just organically finding and wanting to do something different in this area.
As you continue to grow with your business, what do you want to see from the community or outside of the community? What do you want to see from people like us in terms of our relationship with the outdoors?
Just treating it as something that should just be second nature to us. Like, we live here in Mississippi. It is a green state with lots of green areas to explore. So just going outside, being more connected with nature, just making it a part of our routine, whether if it's just passive recreation like walking on a trail or going fishing or just being outside and exploring and right here in our own backyard.
Are there any kind of barriers or setbacks that you've had from a business standpoint, and also like the accessibility standpoint? What are some setbacks you've had, and how have you kind of navigated through that?
So not too many setbacks. It's one of those, the only setback I've had was a good setback, is that at one point business started to outpace my growth. You know, I started getting more people that I could take on. And so once I had to go back to the drawing board, reassess a few things, just get more organized on the business side. Like, all right, let's set a set tour schedule, have a set amount of boats, increase inventory. So just change the way that I do business, and being able to safely and be able to safely accommodate more people at a time. Because the number one thing is safety. Because one thing I can say that in the decade plus that I've been doing this, I've never had any incidents on the water or just outside of the water. So everybody is safe, no drownings, no harmful wildlife interactions, none of that. So
That's good. Let's do a little hypothetical. What, without, having to come and accommodate, people wanting to come and kayak, it is your day to just be on the water and go and row around. Is that the correct verbiage?
I would say paddle.
Paddle around. So what does that look like of your perfect day of being out here?
So a perfect day for me would be coming out early in the morning, a little bit past sunrise, while there's still plenty of shade, a nice little breeze. The high is probably 70 degrees that day. I got my small cooler with me. We're getting out nice and early, and I'm just doing 70% relaxing, 30% paddling, just letting the water and the breeze take me where I want to go. So that is a great day for me.
Is there a specific stop that you need to make or need to see in terms of like the landscape, the agriculture, anything?
So being out here in Mississippi, during our drought season when we don't get a lot of rain, the water levels are very low. So out here at Crystal Lake, the average depth is about 3 to 5 feet. The deepest point is around 7 feet. But there are lots of islands out there to explore. We pull up on an island, sit on a park bench, relax, just enjoy the scenery, touch the plants, play with the dragonflies, walk out into the water, dig our toes in the sand because it's a sandy bottom out here. So it's one of those, you get a feel that you're out of town, but you're still in town at the same time.
You're still right,
right in the heart
local.
of the city.
So I heard of some lily pads.
Hey.
And can you kind of explain like the science, if you know, behind it of how they come up and then they go back down and just the beauty in those lily pads?
So with those giant water lilies that we have out there, so there's two species of them. We have the American lotus. Those are the giant ones with the big pretty flowers. Then we have the smaller water lilies. They're called the tiger Asian lily. So they grow flat with the surface, and the American lotus, they grow above the surface. And so they're like these big hydrophobic leaves that float on top of the water. And if you splash water on them, it'll just bead up and roll right off.
Wow.
And so they are gorgeous. And so there's a big old, I guess you could call it a field of them just out there. And so they provide a lot of shade for fish underneath. So while we're out playing in the lily pads, sniffing the flowers, you'll see fish jumping around. You'll see ducks and birds running across the top. You'll see a lot of bees and butterflies getting nectar from the flowers. It is a beautiful and just overall grand
I'm pretty sure a
experience.
relaxing and peaceful place to be. As you are kayaking, you're learning about the plants, the animals. Has that always been an interest to you, or are you just here for the kayaking? Are you interested in the science behind all of it?
So I like to call myself a self-proclaimed outdoorsman, outdoor enthusiast, if you may. But so my background in science is environmental science. So that's what I majored in at Mississippi State. So I'm able to take what I know and just things that I've learned over the years and just share it with the people who do come out. Because a lot of people have a lot of misconceptions about wildlife and plants. They think everything is a snake, alligator. They think we got crocodile-infested waters. And just the world is out to get them. No, out here you can relax.
Are those some of the misconceptions that they have? Are there any more that you would like to, lay out?
Yeah, because the biggest misconception a lot of people have about kayaking is they think it's hard work. We're going to have to put on a helmet and go down a waterfall, and we're going to be out there all day getting tired and fighting the animals and bugs. And the time we spend on the water, a lot of people just lose track of time and realize, we've been out here 2 hours already, and I hadn't got attacked yet. Where's the dangerous waterfalls and rapids? And it's like, no, this is actually relaxing. I have people that come out to just be at peace and just relax and be surrounded by nature. Because when you're out on the water, you get like a beautiful duck's eye view of everything. It's one thing to be on land looking at the water, but to be just surrounded by water and looking at the land is just a surreal experience, especially if you've never done it before.
Yeah. And so how is that experience to watch other people get to experience and enjoy something you love?
So I'll have people come out that have never done it before. They could tell just the nervousness in their eyes. They take a bunch of slow steps getting into the boat. But once they're out there, I tell them, hey, what we're doing is 70% relaxing, 30% steering. And so once they get out and they decompress and relax and they realize just how much of an enjoyable experience it is, they say, I got to come back.
I would end off saying this sentence, and then I want you to end it off and explain why you answered this way. So the outdoors belongs to?
So the outdoors belongs to the people. So it is our responsibility to be a good steward of it, to take care of it for our current generation and future generations, to make sure that it is something that we cherish and treat it as such so that everyone can appreciate it. Because without outdoors and nature, you know, that is the foundation of everything that we have.
At Capital City Kayak, a paddle in the water is more than recreation. Chris is proof nature belongs to everyone, and inclusion is not an idea, but a practice that builds community, confidence, and connection. His vision is to help the new generation see themselves not as outsiders in the outdoors, but as leaders within it. And in every kayak that touches the water, a ripple of change begins. I'm Mariah Norman, and this is Good News.